All right, good afternoon. We'll go live. Well, we are live now. We'll wait a few minutes for people to log on. It'll be our last show before the holiday break, and then next Monday we'll be live again. Made the mistake after eating, fairly decently for a long time of going to Shake Shack. You can see that reversed for lunch. And you ever eat right for a couple days and then eat something terrible and then realize you shouldn't have done that about an hour later when you feel like crap? That's what eating at Shake Shack will do to you. It's really, really good, but it's not good. Ray Ingraham, hey, it's cold out, Ray. Ray from Alaska, what's it like out there, Ray? How are you doing? Yeah, Andrew, I do that constantly. Laura Jean, how are you? If people don't know Laura Jean, I don't know who you don't know Laura Jean. Laura Jean used to work at Shoutique, and she works at Capone's now. She's pretty much like my adopted mother in many, many ways. And so I love her, and she's amazing. And she's here because she's a huge supporter. She is on Team Steve, and I appreciate that. So thank you, Laura Jean. Okay, so we'll talk. There's not huge pressing news today. I wanted to go live for the last time. Laura Jean's great. That's good to know. But we wanted to make sure we went live and had a conversation before we got to the break. And yeah, Andrea, I actually purchased shoes at Shoutique when they were there, and Laura Jean put the shoes on me. It was kind of the only time I've ever purchased. I shop for shoes this way. I walk in Kohl's, find shoes, don't try them on, leave. Those are my shoes. That's how I shop for shoes. The exception of that is I went to Shoutique once for Laura Jean, and I bought some shoes. They have some special name. I don't remember what they were. She may. Andrea, yeah, Shoutique, it is what it is. But it's funny. So I go to Capone's a lot, and that's just kind of my hangout, partly because Laura Jean's there. I have other friends there. And sometimes at night they're closing, and I want to go there and help them. So whatever the case is, but so many people come in and say, where do I know you from? To Laura Jean, or we call her LJ, and it's from Shoutique. The whole town at some point has gone to Shoutique and knows Laura Jean. So she's at some point should probably just run for mayor or for selectman and just make it official. Mary, I know Shake Shack is bad, but we go once a month for cheeseburgers and milkshakes. They have, so here's my Shake Shack story. The first time I went to Shake Shack was after seeing the Book of Mormon. I went to a matinee of the Book of Mormon at the Schubert. Since then, I've seen it 3 more times in New York City. But afterwards, went to Shake Shack, and Shake Shack has these rotating flavors of shakes. They had an oatmeal shake. And I was like, who the hell wants an oatmeal shake? That's like the dumbest thing on the planet. It was amazing. It was like one of the most amazing things I've ever had. Unbelievable. So I didn't have a shake today. I just went and they have this smoky burger. And it's like this, it's chopped red peppers and the smoky flavor. It's just really, really good. Only had one, which is, a year ago, I would have knocked out 2 of those things. So I was doing good. But still, when you're trying to eat a little better, you're trying not to eat too much greasy stuff and too much sugar and that kind of stuff. Then you go and eat a burger like that. It's like, oh my God, what just happened? So in any event, let's talk a little bit about politics before we get to what I want to talk about Thanksgiving. And, we talk so often about the role of government. And I have said this many, many times on this podcast, many times in articles, that the role of government is in many ways to provide stability, to remove the extremes, so that we have some level of predictability in our lives. We have a national defense, so we don't get attacked, and so we can have our normal everyday life, and we can go about our lives. We have healthcare systems, so we can stay sick, to not get sick, or help us when we're sick. We have a tax system in place that helps raise money for things like roads, and this provides stability. And we saw under Trump, part of Trump's shtick, part of his thing, was instability. And that may sometimes has a short-term benefit. Worldwide international relations, people don't want to attack the United States, things like that. But we're seeing right now in the markets the benefit of adding stability. We went from the craziest political season ever, to the market just hit 30,000 today for the first time. This is the highest the market has ever been. And the market is indicative of what investors view as a positive future. They think business is going to do well. They think the economy is going to do well. The market is based on the future, not right now. So that is an amazing sign, and that's what stability brings back. Biden getting in is viewed as safe. He's not far left. He's pretty much in the middle. He's worked with both sides. His appointments, for example, Janet Yellen, a very safe pick, someone very intelligent, smart, safe pick. And so by making these safer picks, by picking moderates for these positions, Biden is leaving the craziness of the Trump administration. And I'm not saying that in a good or bad way, but he's leaving that and bringing in a very moderate, reasonable, logical approach. Now, what does that mean going forward? It could be positive in the short term, but it could also mean business as usual. Other countries could, all right, let's go back. Well, the idea of proportional responses and attacks and things of that nature could be back. And sometimes predictability isn't always good, but that's where we're going to now. But it is amazing to think right now it is November 24th. Think back a month. What was happening on 10/24? Democrats, Republicans, everybody. It was a madhouse. And in a month, that has significantly changed. There are benefits to the way Trump manages on a foreign policy scale. There are benefits. And I'm not sitting here bashing Trump. It's just amazing that we went from the circus that we saw just before the election to this drastic change. As we saw certainty yesterday, it looked like the federal government is giving Biden his money to complete his transition or to start his transition. So while Trump is not conceding, that's a big step by the government. And then having Janet Yellen as the appointed to a key position is huge. And it brings back a lot of the stability that America had seen a lot of before Trump. Now, Trump's instability came from two areas. One, he's a little nuts. And two, Democrats were constantly in attack mode. So there's both of those things that played a role. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but just the overall tenor has drastically changed. David White, CVS. Where is CVS at now? So people who follow me in stocks, I am extremely conservative when it comes to stocks, just to let you know. So I'll talk about my strategy in a second. But I purchased CVS around 57. I sold it at 67. It dropped back down to about 66. That's 68 now. It'll likely go to the low 70s, in my opinion. I do not own it. I purchased some a few days ago, got up on it $3 and sold it. And that is what it is. My strategy when it comes to buying and selling stocks is very, very simple. I wait for dips. So today, I'm not buying anything. The market's going sky high. I'm not buying a thing. I have not made any money today. I sold CVS earlier, but not made any money because I wait for dips. When this thing drops 300 or 400 points or more, we'll wait for, that's when you buy. This is a tried and true strategy. It's worked forever. The problem is people want to get rich quick. And you want to go buy 10,000 shares or something while everything is going up and you get stuck and you can't sell it or it's not moving fast enough or what have you. And all kinds of, and I've made those mistakes. In the market, just watch it. If you have some money, a couple $1,000s in a TD Ameritrade or Robinhood account, that the market drops 500 points, find something, a good company, Amazon, in my case, CVS. I like DraftKings. You buy when they're low. You wait for it to come up a couple bucks, sell, move on. And don't keep looking at it. The mistake everybody makes is, man, you sold your stock at 68. Now it's 72. What a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake. You made your money. You got out. You look for other opportunities. Don't look back. What's that story from the Bible? The girl, who's the woman who became salt? She looked back on Sodom and Gomorrah or something. Lot's wife became salt. So don't look back. There's my Bible reference for today. But in any event, Joanne loves Trump. Let's see what happens after a few years of Biden. Listen, we'll see. I think the Republicans are set up quite well for 2 years from now to make some significant moves in the House. And remember something. The stability comes. Part of the stability that the markets are looking at is that the Republicans are very likely to control the Senate. So that means even if Biden wanted to, the far left people, even if they wanted the AOCs of the world and Bernie Sanders of the world and Elizabeth Warren's of the world's plans, they would never get past the Senate. So part of what the markets are looking at is saying, wait a minute, Biden's a moderate. He's appointing moderates. And anything that's crazy is not going to get very far anyway because it can't pass the Senate. Janet Yellen's a great pick, but those Georgia Senate races loom large. Very likely the Republicans take those seats. So that's what kind of the markets are counting on. That's Tracy's comment. Dave on CBS. Lorena, transportation stocks with vaccines types. So transportation stocks with vaccines. So interesting these last 2 weeks. So here's the deal with transportation stocks. They have to come back. People are going to start flying again. So unless you run the risk of being in the airline, and if there's one that declares bankruptcy, the same thing, and Dave White will tell you this, who's commenting here, cruise line stocks. I mean, you could have bought these things down at $9 or $10. And or Norwegian, for example, look, what is HP? Hewlett Packard's skyrocketing right now after hours. This is for many of those transportation stocks, it's a buy. You're either going to go to zero. So let's say there's a 5 or 10% chance the stock goes to zero, or a good chance that it goes up. Now, how long are you willing to hold that stock? If you're trying to buy it for 2 or 3 days, that's a tough thing. If you're going to buy it for a year and a half or 2 years, you're investing in that company. And we could have a whole podcast on looking at a PE ratio. What is it trading at? What is its earnings? What is its quarter over quarter numbers, and to analyze what stocks to buy in those situations. But buying good stocks on dips is always a good strategy. And that's how smart people make money. It's good to make 15, 20% over a year. It's phenomenal. The stories you hear of people tripling and doubling their money, that's great, but that's like luck bullshit. That's not real finance. They're not actually doing actual math or actual economic analysis in that regard. But anyway, it's Thanksgiving time. And so, I look today at living in Brantford, living on the shoreline. And this is more Brantford based than anything. But, after yesterday's discussion where we talked about some of the unstable people in town, there's a few of them that kind of try to take over meetings and spread false rumors and things that just simply aren't true. It's amazing that we really do live in an unbelievable town. And I moved here about 13, 14 years ago. And that was after people know I left the religion I was a part of and kind of started over. And I didn't know anybody in town. And at the time I worked for the DeRoss. I worked on the Obama campaign first, but the next year was a DeRoss campaign. And the idea was that at some point I would run for office. But I didn't want to, when I saw how nasty these campaigns get, sometimes even on a local level, I didn't want to be me. I didn't want to go from kind of a religious cult to a political cult. But what has happened in that time, we have had serious issues with that Tabor lawsuit. We had serious issues with the Marcus Law Firm. These are other lawsuits. We had serious issues with development in town, Costco in the past, a variety of issues that were happening that weren't going away. They were just these lingering long-term lawsuits, these lingering issues that just wouldn't stop. And they piled on top of each other. This idea to put public works on Tabor was a result of the Tabor lawsuits to show some legitimacy for taking a property never should have taken. And in the last couple of years, the last 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it was, everything really changed. And the more I think about it, I know there are people, this is not, you're political, or you're picking one side, or you're for Jamie Cosgrove. But since he took office, we have Jamie Cosgrove as the first selectman. The head of the Board of Finance is a Democrat, Joe Mooney. The Republicans have controlled the RTM, and they've been far more moderate in most areas. There's still some far righters on there, but we've seen amazing things get done. For years, there was no new senior center. It was a disaster at Canoe Center. Instead, we have a new facility. A lot of people haven't seen it yet because of COVID. A new facility that combines our senior center and our community house. An all-ages facility. It's beautiful. It's actually quite amazing inside. We can at some point get rid of the Canoe Center. So that's a savings. So we got that problem solved. Walsh Intermediate School, the issues with no walls, when that came up, I walked through the school as part of a Board of Education meeting. And it was stunning. You had teachers that were piling up bookshelves on top of each other to create walls between classrooms. That's absurd. You would walk around on the top level looking over the opening in the center of the school, and you saw the roof of classrooms that they had to build because there had to be some special education classrooms separated. It was a piecemeal crazy thing that so many kids went through and so many had issues with. And once that became an issue, and there was two very particular parents who made it an issue, came to every meeting, and they are certainly one of the main reasons that became a priority. But when we started writing about that, the stories, the emails that came in of my kid would come home crying every day. My kid could not pass a test. My kid could not concentrate at all. And I was thinking, when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, the idea of having open classrooms, no walls, friends and kids walking past constantly. Heck, I remember my teacher making sure the door was closed to the classroom so we can concentrate. Now we had no walls. And generations of kids went through this school. And that problem is now solved and almost done. You have a new animal shelter that is going to be done. You have countless other things that are done in town, which are, I mean, you talk to many towns, nobody gets this amount of stuff done. And you did it while keeping the mill rate under 30, which no one else in the area is doing. So at the end of the day, for all the craziness, for all COVID, the national politics, even the state politics, we live in a town that I would say this, a Republican first selectman, but is as progressive as it gets. We get stuff done. Taxes are low. When it comes to being green, I don't know that any town in the state compares to Brantford, with a Republican first selectman, with solar farms, with massive energy conservation plans for all of our buildings. Just conserving buildings, moving the senior center and the community house to one building is a huge help when it comes to the environment and less energy conservation. Getting rid of buildings we don't need is huge. So all of these things are unbelievably positive. Now we're going to have an election next year. And no matter who the Democrat is, 40% of the town is going to vote for the Democrat, even with Jamie Cosgrove, even with the track record. That's a sad statement about politics. It's unfortunate when you have things going as well as Brantford is right now, and you're still going to have people that are so loyal to a political party. But we'll have many other podcasts about that. At the end of the day, we have people who know how to work together, are logical, and are reasonable running a town. The other thing you have is you have people putting the town first. Jamie Cosgrove isn't trying to run for governor. Joe Mooney's not trying to run for governor. Mary Grandy just mentioned Jim Finch. Jim Finch isn't trying to run for governor. These are people who are trying to do a good job for their town. There's not other motives. And so if there's any warning, as we watch some people try to hijack meetings, and some elected officials try to make nonsensical political points. We have the head of the Democratic Party is now one of the press aides for the Connecticut Senate Democrats, who's a political animal and trying to get ahead and trying to get wins. And as we approach Thanksgiving, and we're thankful for the town we live in, and we realize the unbelievable track record of the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, don't let people who have political ambitions or don't give a shit about the town govern the discussion. Don't let crazy govern the discussion. So far, we've done a good job of that. But it doesn't always stay that way. People have goals to disrupt as much as they can. We had, at the last RTM meeting, 6 or 7 petitions, citizen petitions that are signed, started by Wayne Cook. None of them make sense. We want an investigation into this, misappropriated $6 million. It's just crazy, crazy things. And the job of those types of things isn't to be right. There's no valid points. It's to make things as muddy as you possibly can. Let's just throw mud in this and let's make it dirty so people can't understand what's actually happening. Remember the town you live in. Find another town in the state that has gotten done what Brantford got done in the last 5 or 6 years. A new Walsh, a new senior center, new animal shelter, and solar farms and energy conservation, and keeping their undesignated fund or savings high and taxes low. Find another town that has been able to do that. At the same time, Brantford is probably one of the most diverse towns in the state. We have the highest concentration of trailer parks and condominiums in the state, and we have multi-million-dollar islands. It is a unbelievable, economically diverse town. And to be able to do the things that they've done is spectacular. So if there's one thing I'm thankful for, it's that when I was looking for kind of a new start, when I was leaving a religion, leaving a cult, and in many ways left my family, not my immediate family, I wasn't married or any kids, but all that kind of things that goes with leaving a cult, I stumbled on Brantford, responded to an apartment in Brantford. And it was one of the luckiest moves I've ever made in my life. And we have it. It's an interesting town. The town, I was talking to a friend recently on how, a lot of Brantford is a little cliquish. Some people have grown up together. They've all known each other. And it's often hard to get in those cliques and be friends with those people. They all have their little groups. But somehow, this is a town where I came not knowing anyone. And you're all watching me on camera. And I know everyone. And I love being here. I'm sad when a restaurant closes, and I'm happy when some good things happen. I love being on the green, love seeing this amazing town. And that's one thing we should be unbelievably thankful for, of where we live and what's happening positively, no matter what happens in the next year, because already the election season, you're seeing little signs of it now. So if there's any message that I have to give for Thanksgiving, it's how thankful I am that I stumbled upon this town. I had not been involved in politics. I had never thought for a second of starting a news site. I ran a kitchen design company in the past. I had started one and was a general manager of one in New Canaan. Totally different remodeling and construction, and that's what I did. I did some business consulting, but that's what I did. And when I came here, everything changed, and I was able to do what I absolutely love doing. Talking about politics, explaining about politics, teaching about politics, and then understanding the impact it has on our lives. And politics so often is nasty. It can be disgusting so often. But then you come across Brantford right now. Not always, but right now. And it's not. Don't ever let it become that. Because when that's being led by strong people, by the Joe Mooneys of the world and the Jim Finches of the world, and by the Jamie Cosgroves of the world, who care about the town, who care about politics because they care about the town, not to get ahead, amazing things happen. So I'm thankful, very thankful for stumbling upon Brantford. I'm thankful that Brantford gave me a home and accepted me. And I'm thankful that I can come to you every day with this podcast, that I have the news site that I have, the forum that I have. And I am thankful I have this audience. And I hope that you will do me the favor that if I ever lose that sentiment and I lose that feeling of being thankful for where I am or thankful for what I have, you remind me. If I'm wrong, correct me. If you have another idea, let me know. I don't ever want to lose the way I feel right now, talking on camera about how thankful I am for where I am. Guys, have a great Thanksgiving. We'll be back on Monday. And I just hope, I know a lot of you aren't going to be able to see your families. A lot of people aren't traveling, but please stay safe. We're so close to kicking this little COVID problem. Let's just make sure we don't take a step back. Guys, have a great Thanksgiving. I will see you all on Monday.